everyone. Sometimes when I'm making ephemera for journals or bundles, I like to use a lot of small elements for details. Small detailed things can bring a really big impact to something that you're creating. So today I'm going to show you how I make these little tags, little number tags. They don't have to be numbers, you could use letters or just have them blank, or these ones have got little text on them. And then I'll show you a few ways that you can use them in projects just to add a little bit more impact to a piece. So I've just got a little key dangly cluster here, and I've just added one of the numbers with an eyelet. You can of course use them for something like a simple page tab, or just use them to create another element in a cluster that you've added to something else. I like to make these in batches so that I've got them on hand to use. Sometimes when you're making something that's a little bit more involved, so you might have stamping and you've cut out a digi, then you've cut out some labels and made a cluster and done some stitching. Those things, whilst we enjoy them, they can be really time consuming. So if you've already got some of these smaller detailed things to hand, it can make the process a little bit more flowing rather than having to stop and make some of these in the middle of your project. Today I'm going to show you how I make these using some laser cut chipboard, but I'm also going to show you alternative ways that you can make something very similar at home using things that you probably already have in your craft room. So let's get started. So I think we'll work on both the chipboard version and the make at home version at the same time. And the first thing I'm going to do is grab some inks, and I think we'll use some walnut stain to begin with. And I'm just going to start applying it straight over the top of my chipboard with a stencil brush. It doesn't have to be particularly even, and it doesn't matter if you get marks or anything like that in it, because by the time we're finished you won't see them. I'm going to add 2 lots of stamping over the top, so that will help hide any imperfections that we've got going on. And then I'm going to, for the make it yourself with your own materials, I've got here a piece of cardstock. Now it's not super heavyweight cardstock, it's probably about 150, 160 GSM, and I'm just going to do the same thing and lay down a layer of ink. Alright, so I've just popped some ink down there. Now to add a little bit more interest to our little tags, I'm going to go ahead and add another colour, and I've just got some rusty hinge here. So same thing again, I'm just going to apply it over the top, just making sure I get a little bit on each of the tabs. So now I'm going to take a stamp, and this one happens to be a measuring tape stamp from Darkroom Door. I do have this stamp available in the shop, and I'll pop a link to that below. And I'm going to take some archival ink in a brown. So I've got some potting soil here. Now the reason I'm using archival is because this won't react with water, and I'm going to splash some water over the top of these in a little while. So just inking up my stamp, and I'm not putting it on a block because I don't want it to stamp perfectly, and I'm only inking up sort of the first third to a half of the stamp, and then I'm just going to plop that down randomly over the top of my tabs. Just making sure I get a little bit on each tab. Doesn't matter if there's a few blank bits showing. There we go. And then for the do it at home one, I'll do the same thing, just covering the coloured part and making sure there's a little bit of stamping going on everywhere. Next I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of water over the top so it reacts with my oxides. This will just give a bit more texture to the background, as those water droplets will react and create some lovely markings. And I'm just going to press over with a little bit of paper towel to pick up any leftover droplets. And then I'll give those a quick dry with my heat gun. Alright, so I'm going to pop the chipboard ones aside for the moment and work on the do-it-yourself at home ones. And I'm just bringing up a cutting board. And the first thing I want to do is fold this in half, or not in half. I just want to pop a fold into the paper that I've coloured, the card that I've coloured, but I want to make sure that I've got at least a centimetre on each side of the card where I've altered it. And I'm just going to press that down. Then I'm going to line that up with my cutting mat, and I think I want a little bit more than a centimetre, but there's no specific measurement. So I think probably about that much. Make sure that's straight. And then I'm just going to take a craft knife and cut that down. So now I have this little folded section, and it's coloured on both sides. And then I still have this coloured section over here. So the next thing I want to do is punch out some shapes to help me make my tab shape. So the chipboard ones are this shape, and these were some that I made using a 1-inch circle punch. Then I had a look through my punches and I found this one here, which is sort of like a damask ornament, I suppose. And I'm going to give these ones a go as well. So I'm just going to punch out a couple of these ones. And then I'm going to punch circles with the rest. So with these ones, I think I'm going to be better off folding them long ways down the middle, which might be a bit tricky because they've got these sort of pointy bits. So I might need to score them, but we'll have a crack and see how we go first. Alright, so I've got those ones folded. And for the circles, I don't want to fold these ones. I just want to snip off a small amount off the edge, about that much. I don't measure, but I just, cut off about that much. Now I actually went ahead and just cut an extra one of these because I'm going to do the same with this one. And I'm just going to cut one little divot off the side there. So this will allow us to make some single-sided and double-sided tabs. First of all, if you're going to do a double-sided circular tab, you'll need to take 2 of the circles and glue them back to back, making sure the little flat bit that we cut off is on the same side. It doesn't have to be lined up perfectly, the cut part, because you won't see that in a minute. And then with one of these ones that I folded in half, I'm going to go ahead and glue that shut as well. Now with this other one that we folded in half, I'm actually going to snip these little points off, just to alter the shape of it slightly. And then I'm going to glue that together as well. So now we've just got these two which have no colour on the back. So now I want to actually build my tabs, and if I take this piece that we folded earlier and I push my tab right down to the crease, it kind of gives me that shape. If I was to cut that off here, it's a very similar sort of shape. So you can adjust and play with the length. You might want it sticking out a little bit more, or you might want it pushed right down. So then we just need to apply some glue inside our folded piece here. So I'm just going to pop some about there and about there. Pop my tab in and push it all the way down, and I'm going to close it. Just clean off that excess glue there. Hold it down for a sec. And then I'm just going to eyeball it and cut off roughly the same size that I have on this side, between the edge of the circle and the edge here, on the other side. So for the single-sided one, you do exactly the same thing. The only difference is if you were to glue this on the edge of a page or somewhere where you'll see the back, it's going to be white. So you'll either need to colour the back or you just use it on an embellishment where you're not going to see the back. And it's the same thing with these other shapes that we've created. They're just going to give you a slightly different looking tab. So with this one here where I've cut the points off either side, you can either push it in further so you just have a tiny amount of the circle showing. Hope you can see that. Or you can leave those edges poking out a little bit so you get a more intricate looking tab shape there, like that. And the same with these ones. With this one that we've cut one side off, you can push it right down and you'll get a similar shape to this one. Or you can have it poking out a little bit and you can see the pointed edges on either side. And the same with the double-sided one. So here are the chipboard ones that we got to this stage already. So the next thing I like to do is go in with some number stamps. So I've got this one here, which is from the Witchcraft Documented Stamp Set. And then I've also got these ones here, which I got years ago. I think they were from Typo, but I can't remember to be sure. And again, I've just got some black archival ink. So if I'm using this stamp, I can just easily go in, line up my stamp on my tab and pop that down. A bit busy in the background, so that's not standing out as much because they're quite small, those numbers. These ones are a little bit chunkier. So let's see how we go with these ones. So, yep, they stand out much more, so I think I'll use those on this one. So now we've got our little tabs made. I like to ink around the edges of my tabs. It just helps define the edges, and then once you pop them out from the background, you can see much more clearly what they actually look like. So I'm just going to take a foam blending tool and my archival ink, and I'm just going to ink around the edges. So there we go. I quite like both versions, and they're great for adding details to your projects. So here's a couple of other ways that you can use them. This one's just been used with a reinforcement ring to connect something else to a bowl pin. So it's almost like a decorative reinforcer. You can just stick them to the edge of something like this. Use them as a pull tab to pull something out of a pocket, or just add them to something else that you've stamped as another little element. So it's quite fun to sit and just make a bunch of these all at once, and then you've got plenty of them to add to your projects as you're going along. I like to make lots in different colours so I can pick something that matches whatever I'm working on. But remember, you don't have to have the chipboard. You can easily make something similar at home using things you've probably already got in your craft room. So I hope you found that helpful, and we'll have a go at making some of your own little tabs to add those extra little details to your projects. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you again next time. Bye.